Spearhead gets a lot of flack from some Warcry players, mainly for the most part that people like to say, oh, it's replacing Warcry as Games Workshop skirmish game, and the pushback is, well, it's not really a skirmish game, is it? It's an introduction into Age of Sigmar proper, you don't have list building, you've got very few units, this kind of thing. That being said, there are some things that I think that Spearhead does extremely well, and the foremost of those is the actual mission pack that you're using itself. The Spearhead Battle Pack, I think, is fantastic. You're going to be using cards to generate the different kinds of missions and the different kinds of objectives that you're producing turn on turn. There are going to be twists that are going to happen turn on turn, and it's really a game of managing the cards that you have, the objectives that you have available on the board, and analyzing the board state to see whether it's a good thing for you either to go for scoring objectives or if it's a good thing for you to use bonus abilities that are printed on the cards. That being said, there isn't really anything similar in Warcry. Until now, I've looked at the Spearhead format for Spearhead for Age of Sigmar, and I've translated that into Warcry. I have written a completely new battle pack for you guys. We got the cards, we got the twists, we got all of the board layouts. That's all in there, and that's something that I'm very excited to share with you today. Okay, everybody, we did it. We absolutely smashed it last year. We hit that 3,000 subscriber goal. Let's do it again this year. We're going for 5K. All you need to do is like and subscribe. And in fact, no, you don't need to subscribe. What I would like you to do now, after you finish watching this video, I've got a massive playlist of all sorts of things Warcry. Check out one of those videos and see if that's what you like. But if you want to throw some more support my way, you can join me here as a member. You can join me over on Patreon. You can join my Discord. Links for that are going to be down in the description below. Either way, you get to see stuff before it's released. You get to have a say into the kind of content that I create in the future. That's it from me for now. Let's get back to the video. Okay, so to begin with, let's talk about why I decided to do this. I've said already that I think that the Spearhead mission is really, really good. One of the biggest complaints about Warcry is that if you're playing in an event, for example, you build towards the mission pack, and that's basically what it is. If you're playing casually, there's always a concern that the combination of mission, twist, deployments, terrain can basically screw over one or both players and can essentially lead to non-games. So I think that the way that Spearheaders does it, it kind of marries the two. If you're on the more casual side, I think drawing into the random objectives turn on turn will really appeal to you. All the twist mechanics are still in there. All the things that we really enjoy about casual Warcry and basically not match play are all in this kind of battle pack, but it doesn't have some of the biggest drawbacks of you generate a mission combination, and that mission combination just out of sheer luck means that one or both players might not necessarily have a really good time of it. So that's really what I've tried to capture here. I've taken all of the Spearhead mechanics, I've translated them over into Warcry, I've written new rules for them all. I think this is pretty good, and the games that I've had, they've generally led to tighter games. We've played a whole bunch of different warbands into each other. We've played bigger warbands into smaller ones. We played 2 medium-sized warbands, killy warbands into more objective-focused warbands, and it seems to be fine, and people seem to have fun. So let's get into how to actually play the game. At its heart, the Spearhead mission is basically an objective mission. You have 5 objectives on the board, and you're going to be gaining points as normal for those objectives. 1 point if you control 1 point if you control 2, 1 point if you control more objectives than your opponent. The big differentiator between Spearhead and other game types is that you are, on top of the objectives, you are also scoring missions based on the cards drawn out of a deck. And that's going to be your battle tactics deck. Each player is going to have a deck, and that deck is going to comprise of battle tactics cards. Now, your battle tactics card is going to be split into 2 portions. One is going to be the tactic itself, and that tactic is going to tell you exactly what you need to do during that turn in order to complete it, and it will tell you how many victory points, how many extra victory points you're going to get at the end of the turn for completing that mission. Now, there's always the possibility that you might not be able or you might not want to complete that mission during the turn, in which case every single battle tactic card also has an associated command on it, and that command can either be an action or a reaction. If it's an action, it's just like a free extra thing that you get to do during the turn. They are actual actions, so even though they're not going to be costing you any dice, they still follow all of the rules for normal actions, so you can't use multiple in a turn unless you're Quest or Soulsworn. Reactions, they're basically going to work as normal, but the idea is whenever you use a command during a turn, you discard that card from your hand. Basically, the commands are one and done, and if you use the command, you don't get to score the points on the battle tactic, and vice versa. If you want to hold the card to score the points on the battle tactic, then you're not going to be able to use the commands during that turn. Now, the second deck that you're going to have is a twist deck. It's basically a selection of 6 cards. If you're not really familiar with Spearhead and the boards themselves, the idea is that each board is from a different realm in the Age of Sigmar. The base Spearhead set comes with Ashki and Gyron, and both Ashki and Gyron have their own twist decks. Every turn, we're going to be drawing one of those cards to see what effect is going to be there for that turn. The idea is with the twists is that they are kind of going to be catch-up mechanics in a way, almost. Some of them are more powerful than others, but for the most part, there will be this minor extra boost for the losing player where they might get extra points for going and killing things, or they might get extra points for holding specific objectives, just as a way for them to get back in the game a little bit easier if they're a little bit behind. Talking about the boards themselves, I've already said that Spearhead is played on the specific Spearhead boards. In the battle pack, you don't really have to worry about that. I've given the board layouts along with where the different objectives are and where the Daggerhammer shield deployments are going to be. I've included rules for the base 2 for Gyron and for Ashki. Games Workshop is just now, or about to, or has very recently, depending on when you're watching this, just released their second Spearhead pack with 2 more boards on it. I'm going to get around to adding them to this game mode as and when they basically go live and I can get the rules and I can get the information. But here's a sample board. This is for Gyron. You'll notice that each of the objectives are named after one of the god beasts. So you've got Dracothian, Ignax, Behemat, Volcatrix, and the Genjwa. The naming of those objectives is actually really important because there are certain battle tactics that are going to interact with certain objectives. It might be, oh, go and hold the Dracothian objective for this turn, and that might get you an extra point. Or it might be, go and take the Volcatrix or Ignax, for example. If you are playing with the Spearhead boards, you can just basically use them as printed. If not, you will have to keep an eye on which objectives are which and which you're going to have to go and capture. Let's talk about how to actually play a Spearhead battle. You're basically going to play it as per a normal game of Warcry. At the start of each battle round, you're going to draw 1 twist card, and you're basically going to apply the effects immediately. So for example, let's look at this twist, Take the Land. Each player scores 1 victory point for each objective they control at the end of the battle round that was controlled by their opponent at the start of the battle round. In addition, if a player has fewer victory points, that player picks 1 friendly fighter to beat the Spearhead. If that fighter performs a move action during its activation and its next action is a melee attack action, then it's going to be able to crit on 5s. Now, some of these twists can only really be used on battle rounds when there is someone behind, but other twists will have effects that say, okay, whoever is losing gets to do a thing, maybe pick a fighter, pick an objective, and if there's no losing fighter, the player without priority is going to get to do it. So some of the twists will always work. All of the twists will always work if there is a player that's behind. Then what we're going to be doing at the start of the battle round, let's say it's the first battle round, for example, you're going to be drawing a hand of 3 battle tactics cards. And then at the start of each subsequent round, you get to draw battle tactics cards until you have a hand of 3. So that means that as you play them and as you score them during the turn, you're going to be discarding them from your hand. And then the next turn, you're going to be drawing back up to 3. At the end of the turn, if you do have battle tactics cards in your hand you really don't want, you just want to get rid of, you can always discard them. And then at the beginning of the next turn, draw back up to 3 as normal. Now, the way that you are going to be scoring points during your games, again, the primary is effectively just going to be an objective-based battle, so you're going to score points if you have 1 or more than your opponent objectives, so that's going to be fine. And then at the end of each battle round, you're going to be completing your battle tactics cards, getting bonus victory points for those, or using them during your turn for commands. Now let's take a look at the battle tactics decks themselves. You'll notice that there's a variety of different scores that you can get and a variety of different victory points that you can score based on the different kinds of battle tactics that you're going to be playing. So as a general rule of thumb, you're going to have battle tactics that are geared towards objectives and going to claim objectives. They're going to be only worth 1 victory point to you. The reason being is that you're going to be getting points for objectives anyway, so I didn't want to reward players just for going whole hog into this massive warband that can go and dominate the game with objectives. If you're going to go down that playstyle, you're not going to be getting very many extra points from your battle tactics. Considering that over the course of a game, there are up to 20 points available through battle tactics, you're only going to be able to score a maximum of 12 points through the objectives themselves. So you really want to be looking at this battle tactics deck and building your warbands around the different kinds of things that you want to be able to be doing with battle tactics. There are also kill-based cards and kill-based missions. As a general rule of thumb, those will each be worth 2 points. For example, let's take a look at this one, War of Attrition. You complete this battle tactic at the end of the battle round if more enemy fighters than friendly fighters had been taken down that turn, and you're going to get 2 points for that. Compare that to the Behemat Dice, for example. Go and get that Behemat Dice, control at the end of the turn. That's only going to give you 1 point. So we're skewing towards the different kinds of mission types that different warbands would feasibly be able to do, and not just being stuck into the massive Super Swarm warbands that we have seen be very successful in other primarily Games Workshop-based battle packs. Finally, I do have a couple of treasure-based battle tactics in there. These will give you 3 points because, for the most part, they are the hardest ones to be able to score. We've got 2 in there. We've got Stolen Supplies and Buried Riches. Stolen Supplies, you're going to pick one of your opponent's fighters to have treasure, and you've got to go and get that treasure back. If you hold it by the end of the turn, you're going to get 3 points. And Buried Riches, you're going to pick one of your opponent's captured objectives. That's going to have treasure buried under it. You've got to go to that objective, use an action to dig up the treasure, and then that fighter basically has to survive with the treasure, or you have to be able to keep that treasure at the end of the turn, and then you'll get another 3 points. So, generally speaking, you're going to be scoring very poorly for objectives if that's the thing that you decided to go all in on. If you decide to build kind of this hybrid force that goes for objectives and kill, you're going to be scoring a little bit better. If you are going for treasure and that's something that you wanted to build around, you're going to be scoring even better than that. The spread of battle tactics cards in the decks, there are 5 objective-based ones, 5 kill missions, and 2 treasure missions. So there's definitely different ways that different kinds of warbands can try and approach these missions. Looking at the twist decks themselves, I've got them in front of you here. I said that I made 2 twist decks so far, one for Gyron and one for Ashki. I will make other twist decks as and when they are available for us. As a general rule of thumb, the Gyron twists are more about going to get objectives, getting little bonuses for those objectives, buffing your fighters and debuffing your opponent's fighters, whereas the Ashki twists are far more aggressive. You're going to be picking enemy fighters to be blood marked, gaining extra points if you kill them. You're going to be picking your own fighters to be frenzied, or your fighters to be a spearhead, which will give them big boosts in combat. And then if they then go and kill people, they'll get extra points. Now, all of these rules I put together in the Warcry Spearhead Battle Pack. That's going to be available for you in the links down below. And also over on offmetamusings.com, there's going to be an entire article that goes with this that has everything for you there. I'm going to provide you with all of the assets that you need, all of the different cards, all of the board layouts, all the terrain layouts, all that kind of thing. I'm also going to put in there the tabletop simulator assets if you want to use those, if you want to use the deck in your games of Warcry Online. And yeah, I hope that this is something that you guys can enjoy, and it's a little bit of a different way to play your games of Warcry. I've had a lot of fun playing it myself. Me and the guys have been playing it quite a bit recently, and we've just been having fun with it. So yeah, that's it from me for today. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you later.